Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Official, the unofficial cast coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split. I'm your current host, Alex, otherwise known as Thanks to Goodbye Master One, and gentlemen, I'm joined, as always, by Initialize and Nymera, the Have Good Brother duo. Gentlemen, we're going to be covering our fourth and final game, the 8th game of the day, and that's going to be Detonation FocusMe facing off against Sengoku Gaming, our game of the week. And what a game to end out this cast, am I right?
For sure. I mean, these two are the finalists from spring. Not exactly at the top of the table now, though.
Well, Sengoku aren't doing the worst, currently sitting at 5-2. DFM looking a little bit worse for wear, but would like to probably lick their wounds and tie that third place spot with Sengoku with that win. But Sengoku would like to be tied with Crest Gaming Act, I imagine, at that 6-2, only behind the first place team. Gentlemen, when we saw this happen in week 1, we saw 19 for Sengoku and 9 for DFM, and it didn't look great for DFM. Who wants to run me through that again?
I'll do that. DFM drafted themselves a very slim win condition, and they didn't end up playing towards it. Or rather, Sengoku denied them it in a large part because of their, as we've talked about them so much, the term we've coined, fundamentals. They found it really hard to get through Blank's Graves and how he controlled the map, and also Pyrion and how safe but effective he was playing out the mid lane Zoe as well. DFM couldn't roll themselves into a win, and Sengoku just took the easy win.
Taking the easy win isn't a bad way to go about it.
No.
If you're given it, why wouldn't you take it? What do we still think there is a fundamental draft problem with DFM Initialize, or do you feel differently about it?
I kind of disagree. I think the drafts are fine. Generally speaking, the one versus Sengoku Gaming was a little bit
That
rough.
one was bad. That one I will contest to say not great.
That one wasn't great. Yeah, that one wasn't great. And I think we're all kind of on the same page there. But otherwise, it's felt like DFM have been playing pretty well in the early game. They've had good, strong plans. They've come out to early leads. It's these mid-game team fights where they seem to not want to leave a man behind, don't seem to want to give up certain objectives, and it's costing them. It cost them in last game. It cost them versus V3, and it might cost them here versus Sengoku Gaming.
It really might cost them a lot. There has to be said, DFM have definitely shown for a decision to go against the meta. Now, there is a team over in Europe called the Mad Lions who are defying the meta and performing well. Is that a fair comparison, Nymera? Or do we think DFM are maybe playing the game in just a completely different way as opposed to Mad Lions' mad scientist way?
They're playing very different to Mad Lions. They're trying to achieve the same goals in some ways, but Mad Lions, a lot of their drafts kind of revolve around, well, this Varus champion, what can we do about that? And baiting people into, it's like the season forecasting where people were playing stuff like Tristana mid into it, or like hyper roaming carries, we could just stop him from playing the game. This is more about DFM trying to figure out their own read on the meta and have some counter picks in the mid lane, like against Zoe, trying to pick up stuff like Xerath and whatever, not quite working for them, or at least it's not giving them enough of a clear win condition for them to play it out, which they were doing with Aplomb in spring. So it's a shadow of their former selves, even a couple of months ago.
A couple of months ago, they were running high. They had that 9-0 win streak until Sengoku Gaming, however, had other things to say around it. And Sengoku currently now have tied themselves back in the 2020 with only down 1 game across DFM. They picked this one up. They will now be at equal parity, including all playoff games and everything they've done in 2020. Oof. What do we think that means for DFM if Sengoku are going to win this Initialize?
Well, I think it means that we're looking at a standings where V3 are undefeated, CJ have dropped 1 game, and Sengoku Gaming have got a 2 over at DFM.
And that's before we even see V3's games tomorrow.
Right?
Lots to be unpacked around that, right? I mean, it's hard to think because DFM, all of us, when we had our predictions, go check out episode 19 of our podcast for that, I believe, or 18, not quite sure. Anyway, check out and just listen to all of our podcasts. We all predicted Detonation FocusMe to be at the top of the table. And what has happened, gentlemen? What has happened?
So in spring, I would have faulted DFM for their composed play. If you go look back to the finals, they were very clear about their game plans and they played it out with a lot of confidence. Right now, they're doing this coin flip kind of style. Sometimes they're composed, sometimes they're trying to go for these crazy team fights and just trying to outplay their opponent. They're not looking good at either of those things, at least in regards to the top tier teams, and that has me worried.
Initialize?
I'll
As you
contest that.
one analyst. As you the number one analyst.
I'll contest that a little, and I think that DFM are largely playing, at least in recent weeks, their early games very well. We're seeing good dives from them, we're seeing good early leads, but it's these kind of fights specifically around the 20-minute mark, actually, often, where they are throwing fights. They're getting out clutched by Ash arrows, they're getting hooks landing them on the fights, and they're not winning these interior fight win conditions where they're just a little bit desync. Fights are getting split. People are going in too deep. And that's a bit problematic. Maybe that's new champions that people are picking up and aren't quite synced with. But either way, the guys at the top are being more ruthless in team fights than they are right now.
How much of it is now a skill gap between DFM and the other teams, as each of the teams above them have beaten them once and Sengoku's looking to make a repeat?
In spring, I would have said that DFM had no player outside of the top 3 in their role. I think that largely they were competing for best in role. I think Gang was probably our best support in spring. Yeah, was definitely best top laner. And then when it came into playoffs, particularly the finals, Seros, Utapon, and Steel all played very, very admirably. Now, there are plenty of people vying for the top of those roles. Nap in top lane, Reiner as support, Archer as AD carry. Also, people like Gango have had some great games too. Arya still in the ascendancy in mid lane, and the amount of junglers which have blown our socks off is through the roof. DFM no longer can rely on individual talent to win themselves games, and that's something we're seeing.
Initialize, any thoughts in regards to that?
I think that's probably a fairly good way of putting it. The waters are muddied, right, about who is the best player. And we are still seeing incredible games from the likes of Utapon and Steel, but it's not guaranteed, because we're also seeing incredible games from the likes of Gango, though it's not guaranteed. Exactly, and that is interesting to see. Of course, we're coming towards the end of the first round robin. Things may well change yet, but it is interesting to see the top of the table be so contested. Well, aside from V3 who are running away with it.
Well, they're running away, but the other Crest Gaming Act isn't letting them try and get too far away with only a 2-loss advantage. It's definitely going to be exciting moving forward for this region and everything else. Gentlemen, let's rip that band-aid off before we do hit pick and ban fates, as I expect it to be coming up very shortly. Who, in your eyes, is going to win this game? Detonation FocusMe or Sengoku Gaming? Initialize. Just, sir, if you may.
I'm gonna go with DFM, but I'm gonna feel bad about it.
Nightmare.
Who gets side choice? Who gets side choice?
I believe this is Sengoku.
Because of that, I think that
might tip it.
It's a close matchup. I'm going Sengoku, but that is like 2% in it.
I'm willing to go 15% Sengoku favor. I'm that confident in Sengoku, especially with a DFM licking their wounds a little bit. I feel like Sengoku might be able to pounce that. And they've also warmed up against Burning Core, and that was definitely a fun one to commentate over, especially from Sengoku's perspective.
Sure. Yeah, and I think the thing about Sengoku is that they haven't been impressing me as much in the last couple of games. Against CGA, that was a mess, but it was still one which they had the chance to close out. Game vs. Burning Core was also questioned at points, so I'm wondering whether DFM can rattle them, but DFM look more rattled than even Sengoku, so I don't know, maybe CGA just breaks teams.
Does CGA break teams? Does Burning Core make teams? Yeah. Or do V3 just break everybody? We have been seeing Set come out a lot, so I mean, the Face Breaker has been thrown down a bunch of times. Gentlemen, what is the lane you're most excited to watch in this one? I always ask it, and I love to ask it. For me, it's the mid lane, Arya versus Syros. We've seen it countless times, and I always love watching it. Pyrion, rather, versus Syros. I thought this was still CGA. We kept saying CGA.
In fairness, I would just sub him in again, sure. I'll
run it back.
Arya game.
Yes, Pyrion rather versus Syros. Apologies to the players. Gentlemen, your picks?
I'm going to be keeping my eyes up at that top side, actually. I
Okay.
think Ebby and Apperman have been
Mm.
focus of our attentions for a number of reasons. DFM loves to play around top side. Apperman loves to do Apperman things. He got punished by once earlier on that last game, and I kind of wonder whether similar things might be occurring this time
Yeah,
around.
well, when Afferman is stable on the map, Sengoku very much appreciate that. And last time we saw Afferman for the first time win a solo matchup versus Ebby in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
However, we look back to finals and we look back
Mm.
at how DFM dismantled Sengoku. It's about upsetting Nitorimashi and NC. So for me, if an early jungle gank gets down to bot lane, blows summoners, gets CS advantage towards bot lane, that's what I'm looking for. It's a bot lane for me.
If you're Sengoku, do you ban Set?
There's a good chance you do. I think that it depends, right? Because Apperman is pretty okay at that Aatrox champion, which
He
I've heard
is.
lots of things about.
He's pretty good at Wukong as well.
He's pretty okay at Wukong, but then we saw Abby not do so well at that. I don't think you're really going to prioritize that. Maybe you ban the set, but you also have side choice. It depends whether you want them to first pick it or not. I think it's more about AD carries and which ones you're picking up there, though, rather than top laners right now.
There's a lot of
Hard choice.
options. There's a lot of options. Are we going to see the fabled Trundle Kindred switcheroo, and then actually Steel
true.
has got the response to the Lamb herself? A lot of options open there, right? Initialize?
Yeah, for sure. And like, I kind of want to see. I wasn't all that impressed with Steel's set outside. I mean, it was a good early game. Don't
Early
get me
game was
wrong;
good.
they played that very well. But it was these mid-game team fights on the set where he clearly wasn't quite as aware of when he could go in. Was kind of getting burst out a lot because of where he was positioning. And I wonder whether something like a Kindred or Graves might be better suited to him.
But then Blank plays Lee Sin, he plays
does.
Graves, he plays these people that can burst out those style of champions. That's a very awkward high five happening on DFM screen right now.
We see it every time, or at least I see it every single time when DFM
Depends
go
whether it's
for
on
it.
stream.
As we are going into pick and ban phase, gentlemen, good luck to both these teams, and take it away.
There we
Nice.
go.
Yeah,
we'll
we
throw
have-
our own high five out there. It will be Detonation FocusMe versus Sengoku Gaming. Thank you again, Masked Swan. This will be the LJL officially unofficials game of the week here. So our two former top teams, kind of a little bit down the rankings and looking to pull their way back up. Detonation FocusMe will be on the blue side, and that means Ebby is in the top lane, Steel is in the jungle, Seros, the Japanese Emperor, in the mid lane, alongside, of course, Utapon and Gang as the bot lane.
Sengoku, though, contenders to the throne last split, this time trying to scrape themselves up the steps into the very palace. It's Sengoku, Afferman in the top lane, Blank in the jungle, Pyrion in the mid lane, and of course Yutori and Enti as bot.
We've got some bans coming through, and of course, what is an emperor to a shogun? Because it feels like the emperor's power has been waning over these recent weeks, and it has been the warring kingdoms of Sengoku Gaming
And,
who've been started the punishment.
how often do you see a blue side Varus ban?
Interesting.
Sengoku draw that.
Are they trying to go towards Aphelios?
Potentially, yes. Potentially that, or you, and then you play out the Ezreal lane.
Yeah.
Or potentially you can have the Ashe picked over that. I don't know whether Utapon would first pick that over something like the Aphelios, but most teams would prefer that. Sengoku
yeah.
going completely off the track, though, to saying, look, 80 carries, we're going to handshake regardless. We don't care which one you get. We're going to go Volibear instead. But this is a first pick Syndra. We saw this in the Juggernaut match for DFM versus Sengoku. It gives them a strong laning phase.
It does, and it's flexible for this squad as well. And I can sort of see, we know that actually Utapon does play the Varus, but if they wanted to go for another first pick, you cannot leave that open. Sengoku Gaming thinking about the Ashe, though, and it is locked in for Yutori.
You lock yourself in an immobile mid laner, you are asking for the Ashe put into you. We saw this with the Heimerdinger last game, right? And it didn't end up being the Heimerdinger getting picked off, but you can see the theory there. If you win bot lane as an Ashe and you just pink ward Black out the bottom half of the map, then you can send an ult mid and get a solo kill just easy as you like in that mid lane.
Okay, Sengoku Gaming thinking about picking up the Zoe here for Pyrion.
I'd really love that.
He's
I'd really love that.
Great Zoe player. A lot of long range CC for Sengoku Gaming now between the bubble, between the arrow. Can set up for a vast amount of burst damage. DFM thinking of answering here with the Aphelios, which would lock that Syndra into mid lane.
The thing is that Aphelios is outranged by Ashe as well. Doesn't even have the best laning phase versus that AD carry. This could be, I don't know, DFM are playing very riskily in regards to the carries here.
Okay. We know they play these champions very well. We know Utapon and Seros are excellent players of both Aphelios and Syndra, but it is a risk, and they take the risk. They've locked it in.
We need to see some kind of disengaged support. something which can protect the carries from the Zoe, from the Ashe. Because if you get hit by an Ashe arrow, things are going to get very nasty very, very quickly. DFM just hovering all the cool stuff, I guess.
We have seen a little bit of Ivern around the world.
That would not
so
be awful,
maybe,
actually.
yeah,
Shield, it's the best peeling jungler. Put it
It
that way.
is, and Daisy allows for a 6th man. DFM, though, thinking of picking up the Wukong here. Going to want to see a better performance out of Ebby on it.
I think you'd lock in Aatrox right now, don't you? Unless you want to lock a jungle and
Or
then
lock
do
a
that.
support might not be a bad idea.
You could lock in something like Graves. Or you can lock in a Trundle as well, something that does really well versus the Sin. You could lock in Trundle, ban out Kindred, ban out Graves. Do something like that. Sengoku have multiple directions to go. This is the turning point in this draft for Sengoku. What is their composition? What is the flavor of their draft? Mordekaiser out of left field. I think they're just going, look, there's a lot. I mean, the Syndra, pretty bad versus the Mordekaiser in the Death Realm. The Aphelios can't really deal much with that too. If you can just remove that Wukong from the battlefield, they don't have the disruption onto the backline. I don't know whether it's a particularly Sengoku pick, but it is a pick which I can see working.
Okay, we can also see that does make the top side of the map for Sengoku Gaming very heavily AP favored. It is double AP solo lanes. I wonder whether something like the Graves here would be a good pick for Sengoku Gaming, and whether DFM look to ban that away.
But banning out the Nidalee, still had some really good Nidalee games.
He's a very good Nidalee player,
2 weeks ago now, or was it last week?
Last week. He did it a couple weeks again as well before that. He's played a lot of Nidalee.
Okay. Of course,
Possibly
Lee Sin is also open for Blank here as well. And Lee Sin doesn't really have a counter jungle matchup, which is why so many people blind pick it. And that's also why it's banned by DFM. Steel, of course, still has a Pantheon available if he wants to go for one of those more early pressure junglers himself. 2 bans left. Might not be able towards the jungle. I would like to see a Kindred ban, I think. I'd like to see that.
Would be my call, I think.
It's just that you want a way to reset a fight if you're DFM, stop that first.
Sure.
Unless Sengoku wants to ban out Bard. That's the other thing.
Would not be a bad shout, actually. Does offer. I wonder whether they look towards potentially a Thresh ban as well. It might make some sense.
No ban.
Well, that says something about Sengoku's mind state right now, perhaps.
I wonder if that's a mistake.
You have to think
so. Plenty of ways that could have gone there. I would have thrown that. You could throw it at something like a Thresh. You could put it at the Kindred. Anything which would have been relatively high priority there.
Yeah, we would have forced a different players at DFM. Like, well, okay, what do we ban last? They've got 5 seconds. Don't be another missed ban. That would be something pretty tragic. Tom Kench.
And they're not choosing to pick it themselves.
No, they're thinking about a Thresh here, and it might force the Thresh pick up.
But then, okay, so Graves can be picked up here as well. I think that's fine because the Lee Sin's gone. Graves doesn't really have any answers left. You can go for the Trundle if you're DFM, and that's pretty good versus the Zoe. We've seen that picked up before. Pretty good setting up for the Syndra too. So I think Trundle has to be the answer from DFM.
Trundle Thresh would make sense to me.
Trundle Thresh is probably the best disengaged comp you're going to get from here, unless But then Lulu is really bad versus Ashe. If you get caught by that Ashe ult, things can get really bad. So they're hovering it. I really wouldn't like to lock it in.
All right, we're gonna see the Thresh locked in. That is the pick.
Oh, Trundle is banned.
Oh, okay, we're blind.
My bad. Yeah, that's just like
so might see the Kindred here. Might see something else.
My bad.
What other picks would you think about at this point with a lot of junglers off the table? I mean, Set's still available, I guess.
Set's been banned.
Oh, so it has been banned. You're right. You're
We're so bad.
We're so bad.
We're so
You're
awful.
right. We are awful. I guess there's things like the Elise still up. Jarvan is a steal special.
This would
He's
be
a
the
very
first
good pick.
Jarvan pick of summer.
All right, Jarvan
Still is a very good Jarvan player, and this works out really well against Ashe. This is a little bit out of left field, but Jarvan is really bad versus Graves. You cannot fight him pretty much ever. You can stop him using his Q on people with the Cataclysm because the wall is there. If you're outside it, things are pretty bad. Now we have to look at what Sengoku are going to pick. Bard is unbanned. Nautilus is as well, and NT will be returning back to the Titan of the Depths. It's the Thresh versus Nautilus matchup. Oh, I haven't missed you, but we're going to have it again.
All right, so Steel got strong engaged, strong team fighting, but not the best 1v1 in the jungle. Blank's going to be looking to punish that. On the other side, though, DFM have a very good front-to-back team fight here. Cataclysm and Wukong going in. Syndra and Aphelios offer team fight damage. Sengoku, a lot of pick, a lot of engage themselves.
My problem is, who can tank any amount of CC on DFM? You get hit by...
Maybe tank Jarvan if he gets ahead.
If you get a Nautilus ult on you, you get a Nautilus hook on you. You get a bubble on you, you get an Ashe on you. It guarantees the rest of that hit, and the follow-up damage is at very long range from Sengoku. As soon as someone is hit by CC, DFM have to immediately re-engage. They have the option to do that if they have Aphelios Infernum, they have Cataclysm, if they have the Wukong Cyclone as well. They have to turn on a dime. DFM have not looked coordinated on that versus CGA. They didn't look particularly coordinated towards the end of the game with against V3 as well. We need to see DFM with the return to form. They have win conditions in this game. I think this is a better draft from them than we have seen in some ways, but it is still very risky. Sengoku have plenty of tools to run over this map, and Blank on a priority jungler does dirty things to enemy teams.
Can absolutely do that. We know how both of these squads want to play. Both have got good team fight. It's more team fight CC for DFM. It is more pick CC for the side of Sengoku Gaming. And it'll be kind of keeping an eye on who gets the drop on who, I feel like. Utapon might be able to keep a little bit safer, though, because he's got the Thresh behind him, and there won't be an Ashe with a Lantern to save this game out. Might mean that DFM can get onto the Ashe a bit easier, but even then, not going to be easy.
Will be less easy, yes, but there is a model to remove someone like a Wukong from the back line, and if Nautilus hooks someone, they're not exactly going to dash immediately through him, right? I mean, the Wukong potentially can get disengaged by that Nautilus. This is going to be a game of teamfight execution, knowing which skill, counting your cooldowns, knowing what is available, but the problem for me is that DFM have to commit so much more for incidental picks, whereas Sengoku can just launch out those lower cooldown CC abilities like the hook, the dredge line, and the bubble, and potentially something like a smoke screen as well can lead to some really nasty things. Excited to see Afterman and Mordekaiser though. I haven't seen that in a little while from my memory. It is another relatively skilled matchup. I mean, I remember seeing Nuguri versus Summit, I believe it was, in that top lane of the LCK with that fighting game animation put in.
Damn close.
So once again, it is a 1v1 solo matchup for Afterman versus Evi. Afterman has typically not won these over the many years of LJL, but he did the last time they met. However, if DFM want to retain a 1-to-1 head-to-head record and end up with that ability to tiebreak at the end of the split, were they to equal the game score for Sengoku, they have to win now.
Okay, so stakes have been set. Expectations are kind of being set as well. I kind of want to point out as well, it's the heal for Utapon, not the cleanse versus a lot of CC. Maybe a bit of a risk for this Aphelios. We want an early QSS at that.
I was about to say, cleanse doesn't help you versus Mordalt, so maybe you just go for the QSS later into the game. Looking for level 1 here. Volley lands on both people, and they're not going to go for the hook.
They're not going to go for the hook. And he just hanging around being a threat. Neither of them want to throw the hook first because you don't want to burn the Aftershock early. We know how that goes.
No, you don't.
Mid lane is going to be kind of back and forth, I imagine. Bot lane, I feel, is probably where most of the impact will be. But then again, this top lane, as I speak about it, starting off pretty well for both squads. The Darkness Rising coming at us, Appamen trading back onto the Wukong that went in early.
Okay, where's Blank going with this? It looks like they've scouted out Jarvan doing the full red cycler. Oh, it's not full red cycler because the Raptors are up, so they know that is available for counter jungling. And Blank, once again, finding something out of very little. Stun lands from Saros in the mid lane. This is a fun matchup. Although Pyrion is dodging out a lot of those Qs, meaning that they're not very mana efficient from the Syndra right now. Might have to look for a back sometime into this laning phase.
Okay, well, Corrupting Pot start for Pyrion means at least he can get his HP back. And Saros has to be a bit careful. That's an early wraparound gank. Going to try and get in behind. May need to flash. Watch out for that shirt. That's a decent bubble, though. Actually, may put some damage down. But Saros decides, actually, I can't stick around. It does force the cleanse.
Okay, and that's a very time-efficient gank for Blank. He just finished the Raptors, was heading down to his bot side anyway, and he gets something out of mid lane. This does give information. Oh, good heavens, look at the time. It's top lane dive time!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's round up, and buy your tickets to the DFM Spectacular!
300 gold on killing, 400 gold his first blood on killing the Evi under turret, Afterman under turret on the Mordekaiser.
Going once, going twice, going not anymore because
going into river.
Well, we set that up. We were getting really excited, and Steel actually walked away. How dare you betray our trust? It's a big CS lead for this Wukong, though.
It is, but the wave is crashing. So it's going to go to about 12 to 15. It's going to be a 10 CS lead, but nothing more than that. And a lot of that XP will be recouped. It always looks a little bit nasty when a double wave is put up into turret. Steel did find himself the Krugs on the top side of the map. He's hanging around mid lane now, but Pyrion is not going to get hit by anything just yet. He does dodge down the stun. Yeah.
That was nearly nice, but not quite working out. You could see the idea there.
You know what he got there? He got a ghost from his spell thieves, which means that he comes out, he gets the movement speed, dodges out in the stun. Thank you, Zoe. You make me so happy to watch you.
Well, there you go. NT and Utromashi warming up to throw some wards in. There's one already over the back of the wall there, and that's going to prevent a lot of the easy entrances for Steel into this lane, unless he comes in directly through that lane. He has got the sweep up, but he's going to miss the ward as a result. Gang's got another one down. Will Gang spot this one over the wall? There we go. Does find it.
He doesn't get the second one behind the Dragon Pit, though, so there's still some vision there. They've seen Steel down there. Blank is free to go for Raptors. Maybe poke up towards that top lane as well. He's currently ahead in the farm race, and with the amount of camps that are available to him, it looks like, okay, Steel's going for a reset as well. Jungle is relatively even. It's just, in terms of camps available, Blank is just quicker to clear them right now.
Actually, I kind of do want to apologize as well. Appman did pick up significantly more of that wave than I was half expecting.
Yeah, there's a double wave on the other side, so it looks even worse. It looks okay for him right now, but it's going to get worse.
There we go. And so maybe I was less mistaken than I thought I was.
There's like 12 minions there.
That is a lot, actually, in fairness. It's going to be a pretty big lead for Ebby, who's actually playing this lane significantly better than he was the last time, or at least the Wukong in general, not this lane matchup. Right?
However, Appman was on the weak side of the map. If he does go for the more even trades, then Ebby potentially has a chance of a gank coming in.
He's got Bramble Vest.
And he has himself a Bramble Vest now in the first back, and he doesn't have to blow his TP there. I don't think Ebby manages to get a freeze off. I think it's going to be a slow push instead, so I don't think he's too worried about that. And we are left with still Seros no cleanse in the mid lane. Has that flash available, but Blank is going to walk straight into Steel's jungle and make his presence known. Infernal Dragon is the first one. It is alive. It is kicking. It is there for the taking.
Steel's just hanging around, keeping an eye on how this mid lane goes. Seros could be a bit aware, though. They know this is happening, so it'll be a 2v2. That's a good stun. And that's going to prevent anything further. Yeah. The cleanse is now burned, but still just a little late to turn that around.
A little late, but Seros does also lose a lot of HP there. Level 6 now reached for Pyrion. This is just how you support your mid laner. Sometimes you just have those really time-efficient points. You can just blow 300 HP off of that lane opponent, knowing that Seros would have to reset to get enough mana to even fight, regardless of the HP. You buy Sengoku a first dragon. The consistent pressure on mid lane for not very much time spent by Sengoku early advantage into this game, at least in those objectives.
Yeah, it basically leads up to a bit of a CS lead for Pyrion. Now, the double ganks has kind of earned that pressure in there, so that's good news for that Zoe.
If DFM support roams mid lane, is it a gank?
Gank, yes, it is now. Said with that awkward tone of voice.
Yeah, you got to make the differentiation.
Yeah, it's
the gank.
The gank. It's like a Gungan, but worse.
I didn't think they could be worse. I didn't think they could be worse.
Well, yeah, there you go. Things you learned today. It's like Jar Jar Binks, but with less movie time, surprisingly. So here we are. Man shoving in again.
But more movement speed because you go Mobies.
Ebby, though, does have his Cyclone, as does Appman have his Death Realm. So keep your eyes on those abilities. Bot lane, pretty even as far as all things go. We talked about the mid lane pressure earning Pyrion some good advantages. And that probably leads things to about a 300 gold lead for Sengoku as the Rift Heralds due to spawn in about a minute.
And we'll see what happens with that. There's no teleports on these AD carries. Yutori Miyashi, however, when he's low on mana, probably looking to reset soon. Might look to reset and go towards that Herald. Seros walking down to this bot side river. There's a lot of vision. There's a Scuttle Crab too. Blank taking his red buff will be more than ready to fight. He has level 6 before Steel. That's important. Keep a track on that too. He's going to reach level 7 with probably camp after Krog's looking at his XP bar there as well. So he's doing very healthy in the XP department.
He definitely is. Steel did get 6 off the Krugs, which means he's ready to fight as well. So any Rift Herald fight would come with a Cataclysm available, which is always nice. And we see the gold here. It's pretty even across the board.
Small leads to Sengoku.
Small leads to Sengoku in pretty much everywhere, actually. Apart from...
For me, it's more about that. It's more about the pressure, the vision, and the XP right now. So, for instance, Blank is ahead of Steel. If he dies and Steel doesn't, maybe we can see that come to something. Pyrion just missing that Steel available with the ult. I don't think Pyrion's seen them.
No, he hasn't. He'd missed it out, and that means that there's potentially room if Seros can land the stun. Does miss. Pyrion gets the back step there.
And he has the spellbook cleanse right now. He took teleport as his base summoner, and he goes towards the cleanse there. Would have been able to get out of anything. Knows he was a threat. Takes the correct summoner and puts himself. He doesn't even have to use it, but he's good that he did have it in time.
All right. Well, we're going to see Steel and Gang roam up into go for a blue buff Steel, but that means that this will be a free Rift Herald over to Blank, who is not contested over there.
And it's in time for plates as well. Because it's only 9 minutes into the game. It will be something available to them. Pyrion once again at risk here in the mid lane, and he's put himself into a bad point there.
Does have to burn the cleanse, and that means that maybe Sengoku may have to back away from this Rift Herald because their mid laner could end up in a bit of a difficult situation.
And Gang.
The gank is
So
there.
Thrasher is there, and it means that Blank can't really do anything about that numbers disadvantage. So actually, that ends up being a blue steal for free. There's no response there from Sengoku. They can't follow from bot lane because that 3-man unit could have turned onto them. It's well played from DFM to get themselves something out of that situation.
Zeros still very low on mana, though. Has to be very careful about where he's going around here. That's the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. It's going to be the Ash Arrow on the bot side, though. And we're going to see whether that gets us a fantastic hook. And that's going to be a dead Yutori Ashi. First blood out of the 2v1 on the bot side.
Gravitum comes out from Yutapon. Yutori actually heals after the ignite is put down. Doesn't flash away from anything. So of course he was rooted in place. Maybe he could have flashed earlier. But it's a little bit disrespectful from Yutori Mashi. And it leads to the first blood for DFM. Interesting fact, I'm pretty sure Sengoku had a 100% first blood rate before this game.
DFM are walking up towards this river, though, to potentially contest. Look where those ultimates are. Cataclysm and Cyclone are pretty high-tier ultimates. Steel's got the level advantage on Blank right now because he got to farm. We're going to see the Redemption come out, and that will be the Rift Herald secured by Sengoku Gaming, and DFM say, yeah, can't stick around for that one.
No, can't stick around. Herald does eventually go over to Sengoku, and it is still in time for plates. It's fine. Sengoku do lose a bit on the bot side, and actually looks like Yutori Mashi was about to see himself in a bit of a bad situation too. Let's see what happens here. Was it an ultimate from Yutapon by chance? Because he does have it there, has the mana available. I think he just, yeah, okay, he does use that. Yutori Mashi, you gotta flash that ult, unfortunately. Doesn't get it in time. Gang flashes for the follow-up hook. It's the first kill. It's both summoners out of Gang. It's worthy trade.
It definitely is, and it puts DFM in a slight gold lead. It's inverted it, in fact, to put DFM about 300 up this time around. Rift Herald has gone the way of Sengoku Gaming, though, and with plates available, that gold lead could swiftly be inverted for a second time, because plates are worth decent gold.
With that kill onto bot lane as well, Yutori Mashi missed a wave or two. You'll be picking up this wave on turrets. It's not quite as gnarly as it looked. We talked about that in regards to the top lane, but it does mean that Yutori Mashi is not too far behind, building up towards that Blade of the Ruin King. Steel's here in the bot lane, though. They need to be really careful of this. They need to try and sniff this out.
Okay, with a Thresh, with an Aphelios, they could definitely do it. And Yutori Mashi is like, I just don't want to be
Saris is in a bit of a bad spot in River, though.
Yes, but he's managing to walk away. Not going to happen. Ebby, though, found his way into a bit of bother in the top.
Speaking of Ebby, he's lost his advantage he did have. It's turned around to about a 10 CS deficit.
That's the Bramble Vest working out really well. DFM, though, are going to roam up towards this river. They're on vision, though, so Sengoku Gaming know exactly where they are. That beach bubble did miss. No volleyball this time for Pyrian. DFM didn't want to play that particular game. Yutori Mashi is over the wall, though, on vision. Well, not on vision, rather. You can look for the arrow. Yutapon has to be very, very careful. They're going to see a potential engage here from Sengoku Gaming.
Triple stun!
Big stun! Big Cataclysm. Now Blank's in trouble, but the turnaround is pretty damn massive. Steel goes down. The Ignite, and once again, DFM go for negation. It doesn't quite work out. It's a lot of summoners burn from Sengoku Gaming as a result, but they do get the kill.
Saros doesn't end up getting his unleashed power that he's going to use it onto Pyrian now, maybe.
Forces a heal because Spellbook is a genius summoner spell. Well, that might actually just be
Keystone, that one.
Keystone, actually. Apologize. And going to get out. They're going to get the second dragon here. And Sengoku Gaming come out, but it was closer than perhaps they would have liked.
Sengoku hold their nerve in the face of everything there. They're funneling in versus the Syndra. It is dangerous. Also versus the Jarvan. Worth noting, the hook misses, the flame misses from Gang there. So no follow-up CC is available besides that Cataclysm.
So close.
It is very, very close. NT procs his Aftershock as well as the only person that actually stays in there. The Ashalt follow through doesn't lead to anything, but it is still a good return. Gang is hunting for Yutori Mashi here, though.
Around as well. Yutori Mashi has got flash. He's going to have to use it very, very carefully. The flay is there. There's boxes there. The ignite is there. Steel is there. And Yutori Mashi isn't going to burn a damn thing and goes down to the Jarvan.
He's just not being respectful enough of where people could be on the map. Doesn't even require the Aphelios this time. He thinks, Dragon's down on bot side. Nothing really to fight around. Steel shows up, punishes him, sets him behind. Teleport in from Mordekaiser towards that top lane. And we are left at somewhat of a status quo yet again. Slight advantage to the FM from kill gold.
Okay, but the turret plates are actually fairly low from maybe who teleported them towards that dragon. It means that Blank can summon the Rift Herald up here, and it will claim first turret for Sengoku Gaming.
Will do, and a lot of that gold's going over to the Mordekaiser. We have seen what Afferman can do with a solo lead. He is zoning off Ebby from that wave as well. 610 gold over to the Mordekaiser will tide him over to the Liandry's. He has the components in inventory. He is more than ready to fight.
I will say I quite respect the QSS buy here from Ebby, though. It means he's available for team fights without being in too much bother of being CC'd before he can do anything. Fight
I'm
around
not sure
this
you want
blue
that,
buff.
NC.
Yeah, I'm not sure he does either. He gets knocked up. Now he's in a bit of trouble. There's the hook to follow, but he does flash before that will land. Here comes the Cataclysm, though, and there is no way out. There is a stopwatch, though, and DFM potentially gone a little deep here. Seros in a bit of bother, but there is a lantern out. Steel now in a desperate situation, may have to try and flag and drag his way out, can try and find his way down, but he's getting slowed, getting shot down by this archer, and Blank will get that kill.
Blank just like kick flips over the wall with his ults backwards to get himself into this. Is fighting the top lane though. Ebby uses his ult, Apperman does too. I think that actually stopped it. I'm not sure if it did stop a teleport there, actually. I'll rescind that comment. But the top lane is removing some tools from each other there, and me actually picks up some kill involvement at least.
All right, so we are 2 for 2 in kills. It's 2 dragons to them for Sengoku Gaming, which is their advantage right here. It is a bit of a gold lead for Sengoku as well, at about 1,000. First items are coming in as well. We've got Infinity Edge versus Blade of the Ruin King at that 80 carry point. We're looking at completed jungle items as well. And that might be a big deal with a Herald coming up in about a minute. And we'll have to see how this continues to play out. We'll go into this replay, though, and see what on earth happened in the jungle.
Blank sniffs something out, starts immediately passing towards bot side. And he pops his Aftershock very early here, but I did think he'd overextended. Because the Cataclysm was up, I was like, maybe he has to flash after that's there. But he ends up stopwatching all of Seros' damage there. Seros doesn't get in range for the ult. He gets the lantern out, and that leaves Steel off to his own devices. He does have a nice flagging drag here, and I just love that ult over the wall from Blank, by the way. Just there's the kickflip. He just like, yeah, watch me do some cool stunts and stuff. He goes over, gets the finishing blow onto Steel on his way out as well. He's up camps, up kills now. Blank looking good in this game.
He definitely is. And just a little bit of lax CC chaining from DFM, who allowed the flash, meant he allowed the stopwatch as well. I know you don't want to be greedy and have the CC be too short, but that one just ended up allowing the...
Well, take the sitter in front of you, right?
Right, exactly. Ebby, though, could be in a bit of a risk here. He's going to find his way onto 2 people being rooted in place. Has got to try and find his way out. Has he used the Cyclone yet? He's trying to get around. There's
he doesn't have it. He was fighting top lane.
This is the collateral damage, though. The Ignite is burning down. Doesn't quite get it. Can they find him? There's the depth charge. And once again, it's a second kill to the Nautilus doing the exact same damn thing. Bot lane turret is the trade, though.
Cool guys, don't look at pressure explosions. The depth charge kills the Wukong, who didn't have that ultimate available. He's put a lot of his gold into the QSS, doesn't have enough gold to fight himself out of that situation either. Utami actually is once again being put under pressure here on the bot side of the map, though. Aphelios has been the beneficiary here. He's up CS, he's up items, he's up kills as well, but Apperman is running rampant on the top side, taking his second turret of the game.
Yeah, he's looking to get that as the second Herald, also likely to go the way of Sengoku Gaming. Looking pretty good, at least on the objective count here. They've got a bit of that gold lead we were talking about. And that bot lane tier 2 falls as well for Sengoku's second turret of the game. Seros gets some pressure in mid. It'll only be some chunk onto that.
Will just be a chunk. Pyrian could have reset there, but it looks like he has enough mana. He has a Chilling Smite from somewhere. And now a redemption, because that's fun. Pyrian manages to hold his mid lane turret. A slightly quieter game than we normally expect from his Zoe, but of course he's just kind of holding the line, making sure that he's not available to be ganked. There's no stun available from Seros now. He might get ulted.
Oh, there's the redemption, because of course there's that ability. Does avoid that use of the use the cleanse there on the bubble. Thought he was trying to avoid it. Does survive, though, has got the pots running, so we'll be fine for the upcoming fight. Luden's in for both mid lanes. That's a decent hook, though. Can they find the kill? They're going in. That's a damn lot of damage, and Apperman just falls. Golden goes. Steel, he gets out, and that will be a kill before the dragon fight.
Apperman doesn't get into his death realm. He potentially could have reset that fight.
Herald dies
Pyrian's
well.
looking, but Herald does die. Good chunk onto Steel and Seros, though. Maybe if Sengoku can hold out for long enough, they can try and reset this fight. But there is a Cyclone here. Watch out for Ebby. Oh, some more damage onto
Seros has to
Seros.
be damn careful. It's now a 4v4.
Blank has ult. Blank has ult.
Blank has got ult. Maybe they can start this fight. Still,
Oh
Pyrian
my
is doing
God,
so
Pyrian!
damn work. He's hitting a lot of these CC chains. That's a bubble onto Utapon as well. And DFM to say, yeah, no, we can't fight this anymore.
Mid-jungle just wrangle that control back from DFM. That was meant to be their dragon.
Oh,
another
no!
bubble lands!
Can't get anything more from
Okay.
Steel stands in front.
Holy crap, that was close. I was wondering if a Blank ultimate would come through at some point there on the Graves. Maybe would have killed with the extra sleep damage. Doesn't go for it, though. Doesn't put himself at damage. DFM staring down up to Cloud Soul point. It's not the worst thing in the game, but movement speed for Graves, movement speed for Mordekaiser as well. If he pops his ult, you don't get away from him anymore.
Okay, so we saw that DFM got the kill, stopped the Herald. That's good news for them. They couldn't stick around at the Dragon fight just because of great chunking from across the wall. It started off with a great pick from DFM. It turned around with some great poke at the end from Sengoku Gaming.
Unfortunately, Wukong gets nothing from that fight. Once again, he doesn't get any kill participation. He is left against this Mordekaiser with that same lead. Has Leandries, Tabby, and Bramblevest going towards a Nash's Tooth as well. He'll have the best 1v1 build to play against this Wukong in this stage in the game. Turret does go down in the Sengoku mid lane, but no one around for that local gold means at least it's not the worst gold injection for Sengoku to worry about.
But it is a mighty close game now. It's not even 1,000 gold that separates these two teams, and that's pretty big. The lead is in those dragons. That is good news for Sengoku Gaming. But it's not like DFM don't have ways to fight here, and there'll be a pretty big fight around that Air Drake in about 3 or 4 minutes as well, you imagined. If he gets hooked by the Death Grasp there, and the shove will continue. Still going to see a little bit of trading. There's a Cyclone. Here comes a Felios looking to get something. Apperman now it hasn't even bothered to use the Death Realm as yet. It's actually just taking very, very low. Here he goes down. He's going to come out of the Death Realm now.
Whoa, Apperman!
Got to be so damn careful trying to trade this round. That's a lot of healing. There's the shield. There's the ult back out. And we're going to see whether this will be enough with the crescendo. Oh, not quite enough. Apperman escapes, gets that 1v2 kill. The Leandries burn just too strong versus Ebby.
Step into my parlor, says the spider to the fly. Apperman bringing Ebby down to his knees once again. Second death of the game for him. And he goes for the 1v2 versus Beautiful too.
Did he collect USS late to get out of the Death Realm there?
Yeah, no, he did QSS there and he did get out.
Steel just goes down. He's what a great CC chain in the mid lane. Sengoku Gaming pick off 2 kills there. 1 in an outplay and 1 out. Just good play around this mid tier 1.
Okay, so maybe my cool line doesn't make sense because actually it wasn't in the Death Realm. So Abby actually says no thank you and he says, oh, you should have accepted my hospitality. I'll kill you here instead. I'm going to go back into the replay. Maybe I should have talked about it over this instead. Apperman gets his passive pretty early into this. He is very far ahead of Ebby. He gets his Conqueror proc very early. And just look at the damage he's just doing all across the board. Yutapon comes in with the Severum, but with the Ninja Tabi built up, Yutapon doesn't have the damage to go through him yet. He burns his ult trying to return it on the backside of that, but with the damage he's been doing all across the board, it's not enough to finish him off.
It's not, and that is now a 2,000 gold lead to Sengoku Gaming off a couple good picks. They don't go towards the Baron. Good play from Sengoku Gaming in the last 2-3 minutes. And this Mordekaiser is becoming a bit of a worry. There's still no completed item for this Wukong. And you can see that is a big AI vote in favor of the Warring Kingdom squad here. Apperman hiding in the bush.
That being said, never count DFM out. Of course, we've talked about them in relatively negative scope due to their aspirations from spring, but that doesn't mean DFM are ever out of contention in a game. They know how to outplay situations, but a lot of the time it comes from Evie being ahead, and he's so far behind right now. He's 45 CS in the deficit right now.
Similar lead for Yutapon over Yutarimayashi, though he's had a really poor game himself. Got caught out a few times, so that is room for that to make a difference. QSS is also on that Aphelios, which is a big deal. Empyrean trying to find something in here, has to back away.
Still flag drags forwards, doesn't find anything. Dragon up in a minute, so this is where people start trying to get chunks, stop people from resetting appropriately and get priority across the map. As we can see, with the work that Pyrian's doing, he's chunking people out. He doesn't land that one. That would have been another nail in the coffin, and that means mid-priority goes over to Sengoku regardless.
There are a lot of pink wards in pretty much everybody's inventories right now.
He's pushing it pretty far in bot lane. He needs to be very careful here.
He does back away now. He's got that wave shovel, force Apperman over, which is nice news. It's about 50 seconds now on that Cloud Drake as DFM to shove up this mid wave and draw Sengoku out of that river. Regain that priority as the Dragon's going to come up.
So Pyrian has himself a second item Void Staff. This is a very important spike for this fight in particular because Void Staff is most impactful is straight after you buy it because it's a very cheap item completion paired to something like a Death Cap.
Oh yeah.
So if he manages to land the right combo, you can definitely one-shot someone even like Seros.
Okay, they've got pink wards now around this space where Pyrian was poking from before. Okay, there's a hook. There is a stun in. Look where Steel is. He's in the backline. Hasn't used the ult yet. That's the Clay Cyclone. Doesn't get as much stun as he would like, though. Epi stays alive. They were attacking the clone. NT flashing out. No one is dead as yet, but that was a pullback. Pyrian misses on the return, and that is a lot of damage in. So, Seros misses forward. Didn't manage to find the multi-man stun he was looking for. Okay, heal is out of Utorimashi, flashes out of NT. It's a flash down from Saros, but DFM do get position over this Drake. It's going down very, very fast.
But Apperman does have TP. In fact, he's just back here already. NT's the person who's forced to go back. There's no flash on Saros, but he does get lantern out.
Wary to get out. He uses the clone. Steel's got flag and drag, and DFM earn themselves a Cloud Drake. That will not be going over to Sengoku Gaming.
All right, so last time Sengoku fought themselves to kind of an unjust dragon. I think that's something fair to say. This time it is DFM that get the better of it. Credit to Sengoku for not committing to that fight afterwards when it could have been a losing situation, but still good of DFM to hold on in this game against Soul Point.
They have held on, and we can see the gold lead has been another one of those roller coasters. It's in favor of Sengoku right now, but sometimes you got to check where that gold is. That Void Staff you called out, that cheap item, didn't get what they wanted there.
Almost a lot of chunks coming out, but it was not enough.
And the important thing is that AD carry difference right now has earned Utapon a hurricane difference. Look at the top lane, though, because Mordekaiser is in a similarly good space.
Yeah, well, one of the things is Utapon's bought himself a QSS, right? Works versus the Ashe ult, works versus the Mordekaiser ult as well. It's not direct damage, which does help in those team fights, of course. Apperman doesn't need to worry with that, though. His lead is going straight into his DPS, into his functionality, and Utapon has to go somewhat more defensive. Of course, it's very necessary for him. They're going to look for another 1v2 in the spot side, though.
Be a bit careful. There is the Gravitum. It'll land, but I don't think they want to get any more. He's gone too far away. Couldn't quite get close.
I think they realized they'd spent too long doing that, and potentially they could have been collapsed on Nash.
Well,
they would have done because Blank's on the bottom side of the map.
Blank
Blank is looking. I think he's just there as a shielding play, going around with the correct warding, going around with the sweeper, trying to get out some of those wards across place. Utorimashi has been left on his own once again. Every time this happens, I'm slightly worried because of those first deaths in the first part of the game. He does have his 2 damage items first, though.
Yeah,
if you over-engage into that, Steel is left without a flash right now. If he goes too far forward, he can get run down by Utorimashi. He's not the strongest person right now is this Jarvan, particularly if the Graves is welling on him as well. That armor will get shredded through. You don't have a Mountain Drake or anything like that either, which means that you can get dueled by the dual AD carries of Sengoku.
Indeed, but of course Utapon did stop off for that nice little sash that we were speaking about, and spent the following 2 centuries picking up his 2 cool damage items. So
they are, yes, they're pretty nice.
Ooh, Steel does save there, does manage to walk his way towards the wall. Stepping up to fight for this vision. Does one there. Going back in now. Now Blank's in a bit of trouble. Trying to find his way out. That's the Cataclysm that is avoided by Blank, who does take a lot of damage from the Syndra, but does survive.
I'm going to say, Blank dodged pretty much everything there. He gets hit by the Flag and Drag, ults out of the Cataclysm, then flashes out of Saros' Qs. It's just the unleashed power coming through. It's 2 big ultimates down from DFM now, but with the flashes burned from Pyrion, it looks like as well, a lot of true summoners removed from Sengoku. So arguably, in the short term, problem is in the short term, with the ults not available for DFM, maybe you think that's advantage to Sengoku. In the long term, when there's ults come back up and summoners are down, though, advantage to DFM.
There is a teleport advantage right now, though, for Apperman, who has that over Ebby. Shoved the wave in. Ebby now, having wandered towards the bot lane to clear out the wave, maybe give Sengoku room to find something on the map, but they don't feel comfortable starting up Baron. There's no vision for them right now around it, apart from they got a couple wards in the entrances for DFM.
I think the thing
that's not like soul visions. Perhaps I'm getting.
That's the thing, right? Is DFM looking to force a dragon again, or are they willing to trade for Baron for that soul? Can they allow someone like Blank to solo out that dragon, who has himself? It looks like he's building towards the edge of night, which will be very important. Actually, he goes towards the Dirk, decides against it. We'll still see what he ends up building there. Might end up being a Death Stance or something. Try and get some more of those defensive stats. He's thinking about his itemization either way, but Blank can solo out that dragon. However, if DFM force onto Baron, do they force the issue and force Sengoku through another choke point, which we saw very nearly go the way of DFM in one of those earlier dragon fights?
There is a lot of wombo on the side of DFM. We've seen some near escapes from Sengoku Gaming. And it is a very damn close game at this point. There's a lot of damage items on the right people. It's a Banshee's Veil on Syndra as well, which I kind of appreciate. I mean, she can step up more aggressively and look for those stuns.
Sure, but the thing is, though, there are a lot of things which can pop it for free. Stuff like Smoke Screen, Volley, very good at taking away that. It does stop you from getting soloed out when you're face checking into a Nautilus or something. Potentially, it can... it stops the depth charge coming through, unless, of course, something else pops it before that. So it's not complete safety, but an extra thing to keep an eye on for Sengoku. This is a tense game. It is the lead to Sengoku still in terms of gold. What's it going to lead to in team fights, though?
Summoners up for DFM. Still flashes down for the mid jungle of Sengoku Gaming as this air drake is about to spawn. That's a hook on a steal, but he's going to try and find his way out. Does manage to get out. That's a lot of things burn on a steal and not a lot of damage in response. The Ash arrow is down. The depth charge is down. And DFM are looking to re-engage. NT's now in trouble. Takes a lot of damage. Death Realm is used onto Steel, who's in a bit of bother, using the flag and drag to try and stay about life as long as he can. Ebby in the backline onto Pyrion, but they can't find all that much more. Now NT goes down, shut down onto the Nautas, who picked up all those goals early. Apperman has to flash away, and it is a 1 for none in favor of DFM, and they move over to the Cloud Drake.
Okay, so Ebby has no ult, has no TP either, so maybe Sengoku want to try and force onto something here. They're going to give up the Cloud Drake, it looks like, maybe force some vision around Baron. I don't think they can afford to start it, so once again, DFM outmuscle Sengoku in one of these dragon fights. Second in a row for them now.
Okay, so gold lead is becoming more and more irrelevant. It's still a slight one for Sengoku Gaming, but it hasn't changed, importantly, and it's another Drake over to DFM. Let's watch the replay and see how the hell this played out.
When you're engaging onto a Jarvan, it's really hard to cancel that flag and drag. They try to, but they commit so much onto the Jarvan that they don't have anything for the counter engage afterwards. Flag and drag comes through. Ashol doesn't find its mark. Saros, importantly, there for the disengage for his jungler. He gets a stun onto NT, doesn't have that aftershock available, so he takes all over 2/3 of his HP. Ebby gets onto Pyrion, keeps him accountable. I thought Ebby might end up dying here, but he ends up cloning away to safety. Afterman flashes out, even though doesn't need to actually there, I don't think. But either way, takes no risks and gets out with his life.
DFM are once again ahead in that summon race. They didn't use any flashes in that fight once more time. Pyrion's got himself a ghost, which is some movement, but there's still no flash for Blank. There is a burnt flash for Apperman. That could be problematic as yet.
It could be, but it's still not out of sight for Sengoku to be winning at these fights. If they get up to 3 items on Ashe, we'll see if you can survive a Syndra combo. Survive against this Jarvan, certainly, because that Death Stance keeping him regen up through that fight. Pyrion is looking once again for each of these combos. He does have that flat pen from the Million Orb, but doesn't have the Sorcerer's Boots, so it's not quite as much as you could do. It's not that full 38 flat magic pen. Double lands across, country mile.
It does.
Doesn't end up leading to anything, but
DFM now moving over to this Baron. There is 3 items on Utapon right now, who is monumentally fed on this Athelios. Apologies. He's been playing a lot of Ezreal recently, so I'm getting a little confused. But DFM looking for another fight. They know they've got some options.
Oh, Steel
does not find what he was looking for. The arrow comes out. It's only onto the Thresh. They're going to try and find something. But now Blank takes a bit of trade back, and ult burn from Sengoku Gaming. Not a lot found. We're going to see a massive Cataclysm, though. That's a big one. With the Moonlight Vigil coming out as well. DFM start the fight, but Apperman is purposed to pick up the jungler in the Death Realm. Now Sengoku Gaming look to teleport. There's going to be a big stopwatch. Apperman gets hooked. Can he survive? Does use the Indestructible. And Pyrion finds another one at the end. And this one is a big hook. Heal out from Utapon. He's turning it around, getting a lot of damage. And Athelios has got a lot of damage. Blank can't find the kill on Saros quite yet. The flash in from Utapon looking to get a kill onto Blank. The smoke screen saves him. It is a 3 for none. There's low health bars on Sengoku Gaming, but they're going to look towards this Baron now. That is a critical fight.
That came out of nowhere. Pyrion has TP as well. So once again, it's going to be DFM losing a mid-game fight. This time it's at the 30-minute mark, not the 21 we were talking about in pre-game. But Pyrion is going to TP back in. Ebby doesn't have Cyclone. Let's see what happens with this.
All right, Utapon is here. Pyrion going to try and find as much damage as he can as well. He's got Flash, can definitely get an execute, but that is the Warrior Trickster, and it will be secure.
Bloody close.
It was bloody close, but it doesn't matter because Sengoku Gaming get away with it. They get the kills, they get the Baron, and that gets them back into this game, which was looking more and more dicey.
Oh my word, how close are you going to get? Steel thinks he sees the opening. He goes for this first with the flag and drag, but has to disengage. The Ashel is blown for free, though, so they get out of there. The Blank goes in for a bit of a trade, and they think, once again, maybe let's blow some cooldowns. This is the big moment. Steel thinks he sees everything. The Death Realm comes in, means Apperman gets out for free. Utori actually flashes out, and Blank has his own mobility, so that Cataclysm is completely nullified. Aphelios has no one to hit, because the only person near to him is in the Death Realm. It's a different plane of existence, and when Apperman pops back out, he's there for extra damage, and Pyrion gets a wonderful kill. It looks like with a Luden's proc off the bubble, Utapon burns his QSS. NT goes in and tries to get something onto Utapon, but is
oh my days, Utori.
Tomoyashi very lucky to get out with his life, but it does leave the opening for Blank to jump forward. And that smoke screen is a very high value regular ability that comes out, blinding the AD carry and saving the jungler of Sengoku's life. Baron to Sengoku, advantage to Sengoku, see if they can roll into any decent power play.
And that is mad damage from the Syndra and the Aphelios, but no, to be able, didn't get a lot done. Apperman did, Blank did, and it's not awful from you, Tomoyashi, either.
So where does this lead, though? So it does mean Baron buff overlaps with Cloud Soul. It gives them the priority to play with. And with that in mind, Apperman is teleporting back onto the map. He has himself a Proto Belt now. He's almost at full build. We saw what he did against 3 people. We've seen what he's done against more than that. Still going in again.
Doesn't find all that much to teleport burn, though. It's not the best place for everybody, but he does manage to escape without too much more bother. Baron buff is only about a 1500 gold. It's pressure around this mid lane. DFM don't want to give up priority. Don't want to give up the Cloud Soul if they can help it. Going to look for engage. That's another Cataclysm, but still very, very low again. And we're likely to fall. Oh, no, that's bad news. And DFM now on the retreat. Ebby's in the front line. Can't find all that much done. Does use the QS and still dies from the Leandri's burn. And DFM look for an engage and once again have it turned around on them.
Steel is going way too deep on these engages.
So many games.
Steel is trying to lift the Cataclysm, but at 1 and 5, he doesn't have the damage, he can't tank it up, and the ways people can get out of that Cataclysm through the unorthodox ways, using immobility, using the Death Realm, has been fundamental to Sengoku's looking like their victory in this game.
All right, there is an Aphelios up, there is a Syndra up, there is a
Utapon!
Very chunked out Unipon who's got no flash and no hope, but it's a shutdown on for Apperman. Sengoku Gaming are going to look to push in there. They've got Baron, they've got all the members up, and Sengoku Gaming will 2-0 DFM in the split.
We shout at video games, but that time we were screaming. We are feeling everything as these players leave it all on the Rift. DFM walk away with a 0-2 week, but Sengoku will claim at least a partial hold onto second place. I'm going to go reclaim our voices as we take a break. Join us soon.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Official and Unofficial coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split. I am Alex, otherwise known as Executed by Mars Swan. Initialize Sam Hapgood, Nymera, Alex Hapgood, Enderman. I'm a little bit lost for words at this moment in time. I hope you'll forgive me, everybody. DFM had an 0-2 week and also have been 2-0'd by Sengoku. If you told me this...
There's no head-to-head.
I can't... What is going on in this region?
We have ourselves a revolution, a changing of the tides, a changing of the guard, maybe. But, God, that is strange to see.
Very much is. And yeah, Sengoku Gaming, man.
They're here.
Looking pretty good.
They're here. They've tied it up with CGA as well. So definitely keeping the top of the standings competitive. Gentlemen, the pick and ban phase. Let's start this from the very beginning. The pick and ban phase was an interesting pick and ban phase. If you looked at production notes, which you did on and off, except that you kept saying Trundle.
Yeah, my bad. See, the thing is, I've got the mic here, and the bans are, like, directly behind it. Trundle's great. Where's Trundle? Man, can't see it.
That's on me then, really. I should have. But I did mention Trundle earlier. We just
forgetting about the Trundle. The pick and ban phase was interesting. Who do you think came out on top in that pick and ban phase, gentlemen?
Well, not knowing how Ebby would play the matchup in top lane, I would have... I kind of liked Sengoku's draft in terms of how they can pick off the carries with Ashalt.
Sure.
Again, I talked about that in the CGA DFM game in terms of, hey, this Ashe thing's really good versus the mobile carries. If you're playing a Phalos and Syndra, you're putting yourself at risk. And then Graves, particularly Blank on Graves, having priority to play around 2 against someone like Jarvan, who really can't fight Graves at any point in the game. He never has that 1v1 pressure. Is very dangerous. But then the top lane was the spicy bit.
And for DFM, they felt like they got a pretty good draft. They got a Aphelios Thresh, great lane.
True.
Game from Utapon even, he played that well. Saros gets his Syndra, looked pretty good on it. Top side of the map, the DFM did not.
So
in their first game, sorry, continue.
No, let's just do it. Let's just rip that band-aid off, because you both have hinted towards it. Initialize, continue your thought. Appamen on Mordekaiser facing off against Ebby on his Wukong.
Yeah, and early on, Wukong was getting some good trades, and then the Bramble Vest comes in, and then the Liandry's comes in, and Ebby once again falls down very hard in CS. He went towards the QSS to not be Death Realmed and be a threat in teamfights, but found no teamfight ults again. And in the 1v1, down in items, down in CS, he just ceded lane control and 2 damn towers to Appamen in that top side.
Why did it get so out of control, Nymera?
You could see that Steel tried to play around topside early. Found absolutely nothing. He found a Krug camp. He probably found 2 Krug camps.
Yeah, he never got a Rift Herald, did he?
He didn't get Herald. In fact, I think Sengoku got both Heralds.
Did,
They got all objectives. We got all objectives from a couple later Drakes.
Yeah, there were 2 dragons which went to the side of DFM in the mid game. But Appamen, he built for the 1v1 and he played the 1v1. He goes for Bramble Vest first, which means an auto attack build does get that extra damage against you. Ninja Tabi to Liandry's is the best 1v1 build you can go for, and he played out the trades really well. He was controlling the wave well, and Steel never threatened him. And when it got to the point where this Mordekaiser was so strong, you go into his lane, and the thing about Mordekaiser is, and this might be why it's perfect for Appamen, if you send multiple people at him, he still 1v1s you. He has that ability, it's his ultimate. He did that a couple of times this game. It was very important.
It's almost like I'm getting visions of Spring Appamen playing Yorick, and I'm just seeing it happen all over again with Mordekaiser, which is scary because they're currently 6-2, meaning something's now working out with Appamen playing Mord and these weird fun picks. So and against the boogeyman of the LJL, or originally the boogeyman of the LJL, that being DetonatioN FocusMe, the team that no one could beat. But we're not in playoffs, so they're not beaten and they're not out yet. Gentlemen, let's take it down to that jungle. Weird spot, right? Initialize, really weird spot. Steel looked good, but then and then Blank had a really good game, didn't die. That was a very hard one for me to figure out.
Okay, so we saw Steel go towards a Set and a Jarvan today. 2 pretty hard engaged mid-game champions when you hit those mid-game team fights. in both games today, he was very desync from his team, and he was going deep, really, really deep, a long way away from people to come and follow up. So he got 4-man face breakers on the set. He got multi-man cataclysms this time around. But the rest of his team were too far away to actually follow up and do damage on the great setup. And at that point, is it a good setup? And clearly it wasn't in these games because he was just dying for it.
Strong over-aggression from Steel, but the lack of follow-up from his team. Was it miscommunication? There's so many variables that could happen there. It's a really difficult one, but because it repeatedly kept happening, you have to wonder if maybe it was just on Steel's end.
The thing for me is that I think that DFM didn't respect the counterplay Sengoku had to the Cataclysm. You can try out the Ash. You can do that. That's fine. The Nautilus has Aftershock. He's got Stone. He's got Stopwatch and then Stoneplate. That doesn't. You don't care about the Nautilus at that point. The Zoe, occasionally you can get on her, but Piran was playing very well around his summoners and also making sure he uses Portal Jump well to dodge and follow up things. And the Death Realm means that if you park that on someone, Charm's in there anyway. The Cataclysm disappears in the Death Realm.
And the Graves gets to just dash out.
And the Grave has dash and all, so pretty much everyone but the Ash has a way to answer that Cataclysm, and they did 2 times in a row in that mid lane where Steel went for the 3-man ults. Everyone gets out. They weren't respecting the counterplay and they got punished hard.
So that's just really part of the narrative, and they got counterplayed repeatedly over and over again. Gentlemen, let's take it down to this bot lane and talk about Utapon, the hope, the light. That was it for DFM in that bot lane, and Yutori Muashi having a uncharacteristic getting out caught, just getting picked off. Very, very confusing. Nymera, can you run me through this one?
This is what happened in finals to bot lane, in fairness. This is what happened.
You're right, I completely forgot.
And this is what I was saying in pregame, and every time I see DFM Sengoku, I'm like, I wonder if DFM are going to go try and dump on bot lane again. And they kind of did. But it wasn't enough, and it wasn't at the important parts in the game, and importantly, it didn't snowball to teamfight and objective wins most of the time.
Yeah.
2 early kills onto the Ashe are nice, doesn't deny the ultimate, doesn't deny the fact that the other side of the map is winning really hard for Sengoku. The Aphelios gets ahead, but the fight was never really about Aphelios, because Mordekaiser, in his own way, really hard to target. He bought the Zhonya's, had a stopwatch as well earlier, has the Death Realm, means that Aphelios doesn't really get to DPS this guy who's got all the lead. It means you don't get to even up that gold that way, and everyone else has got keeping at arm's length, smokescreen, stuff like that. It just meant that Aphelios, as much as the gold was there, never was leveraged. Never.
No.
Can I
Go for it.
in just quickly to say, actually for Yutori as well, this feels like it's been a couple games, a couple weeks in a row now, where I've had some questions about this guy. His Ezreal game versus the CGA as well was a little bit suspect. It went like 3-7 in that game. And Sengoku's top side of the map is playing very well, and we know Blank has been playing around that side, but a few times now where I have had to question Yutori Muashi, and his arrows this game as well weren't all that fabulous either.
Yeah, especially after coming off the last game of where we were seeing amazing ults coming from an Ashe. It really does kind of paint it really extreme, the difference between the two, what a really good game and what a kind of okay-ish game looks like. Gentlemen, let's end this out with well, this was just a game that Sengoku figured out. DFM, I think they've solved it. I think that's fair for me to say. Do you think that's a crazy statement for me to say now?
Sengoku look really just cohesive.
Sure.
Really cohesive. They don't take fights which are losing fights. They play very Korean-style League of Legends in a lot of ways.
Yep.
No, and a lot of that's due to having a Korean mid-duo, mid-jungle duo, and they control a lot of the map, right? And the rest of the team is relatively reserved. Appaman is the wild card, occasionally wins the side lane super hard. But if they keep doing this, they keep the finger on the pulse of the meta, I have confidence in them that they will beat DFM while they are playing this style until DFM reevaluate what they're doing. The problem I have with DFM is that it seems like they've lost in 2 different styles today. Both sides of the coin, going aggressive and playing more passive and pensive about things. It's not looking good for them this week.
No. And I think there is something to saying, I think DFM need to go back to the drawing board and look at some of their mid-game team fights. It's been a few games in a row now where we've gone, that hasn't gone your way. Why? What's the desync? What's this? And like, because you can see mechanically there are moments of brilliance, like from the top lane dive.
Oh, absolutely.
Great. We're looking at Utapon's ridiculous Ezreal performance where he absolutely obliterated people. Like Seros was doing thousands of damage in teamfights like that. That's all good individually. But
Where's
it's not
it match?
But it's not
Where's it
clicking
match?
in the team fights where it matters. For V3 it is. For CGA it certainly is. But for Sengoku Gaming we saw it here with how they were playing around the cataclysms and stuff as well. So some things to work on for DFM this week.
There's a lot for DFM to work on this week. Their first ever 0-2 in a very, very long time. For that stat, check us out on our podcast, as we will be able to give you that stat. Go check out episode 22 of the podcast. We'll be coming out next Thursday. We'll be giving a full recap of everything. If you're hungry for more LJL action, well, we will be bringing you the first 4 games of the LJL. So that'll be game 1. That'll be the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming facing off against Rascal Jester. Then we'll see the Jesters facing off against V3 Esports. Then after that one, we'll have the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming facing off against Axis. And to end us out tomorrow, same time, same place, it's going to be Axis facing off against V3 Esports. Gentlemen, that is the end of our stream. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Are we going to have to put like a not safe for work tag onto the games tomorrow for V3?
Maybe.
Just asking. If anyone knows
Maybe.
in chat whether it's legal to broadcast that to people under a certain age.
They did it on the official stream. They've already done it on the official stream, so I mean, it's fine, right?
Well, on their heads be it.
All I'm saying is, Boogie, we're in Japan. It's going to be called Oni-san in the jungle. He's finding people caught out. It's looking a bit vile out there. I'm a bit worried.
Yada, yada. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out. Obviously, you can find all of the VODs will be on our YouTube, as well as all the saved clips. But for myself, Initialize, and Nymera, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you all very, very soon.